Okay. Now, this image right here, what do you think this is? Just take a guess. Anyone. Guess what this image might be. And think small. I heard someone say it. These are the filaments of the energy in your brain. These are the neural networks of the human brain. It looks very similar to the filaments of the matrix in the universe. Look at this. These are the neurons in the human brain. Here are the filaments of the empty space from deep space. And it brings to mind, as above, so below. They are very, very similar. And the question now that scientists are asking is, do we communicate with these fields of energy through these fields of energy? And I think that's precisely what we're seeing. Precisely what we're seeing. I think these are very powerful images. This is, to my knowledge, the first time we've been able to see the energy that is believed to be empty space. And we know that it is not empty. As above, so below. So this field of energy, the divine matrix, we know it does more than simply connect everything. It is the container for the entire universe. The divine matrix is the container that holds our entire universe, number one. Number two, it is a bridge between your inner world and your outer world. This is the reason why your thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, prayers in here have an effect on the world beyond your body. And number three, it is a mirror. This field reflects in the world around us what we create in the world inside of us. And this is the reason I wanted you to see the healing of the cancerous tumor. Because you saw it with your own eyes. You saw the physical world change, but no one touched that tumor. There was no physical intervention. You saw that physical world change in response to a non-physical experience, the belief of the practitioners. So, to unleash the power, to unleash the force of this divine matrix in our lives, first we have to understand how it works. And we're doing that now. Secondly, we must learn to speak the language. We must learn to speak the emotions that this field uses, and that's what this day is all about. So I have a question. I'm going to go back to an experiment that we did before the break. A long time ago, before the break. Bless you, bless you. Where we had two particles of light, two photons, separated by 14 miles. From here to here, 14 miles. And the question is this. When one photon had an experience, the other one acted like it was having the same experience, even though they are no longer connected. For example, if this photon were forced to go on the red path, that photon would always take the red path. If this photon were forced on the blue path, that photon would always take the blue path. If this photon were forced to rotate in one direction, or its charge was changed, the other photon always had exactly the same experience. And the question is why? You now have almost all of the information to explain that. One last piece. Whoop. The particles are said to be entangled. They are also said to be in a field that is holographic. Let me guess. Holographic. Holographico. Oh, I'm going to do this. How many have heard of a hologram? How many know what a hologram is? How many know what one is? Okay, let me give you an example. This is a very, very powerful principle. The holographic principle is the way that nature creates tremendous change very, very quickly. The holographic principle is the way that nature creates change in large systems very, very quickly. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, there was a bookmark that was produced all over the world. A shiny little strip of foil that had a picture on the bookmark, and if you would hold the picture in the light, the image would come alive. It's called a hologram. There was a face of Jesus. There was Mother Mary. There was a pyramid. There was a flower unfolding. Did you see those a few years ago? Okay, those are called holograms. Now, you can do an experiment. If you have one of those bookmarks, you can do an experiment, but you can only do it one time because you will destroy your bookmark in the process. But here's what you can do. If you have one of those bookmarks, you can take a pair of scissors and you can cut your holographic bookmark into many, many pieces. And you can take the smallest piece, tiny, tiny piece, under a microscope with a very sharp blade and cut that piece in half one more time. And you can take that little fleck, that little speck of the bookmark, and under magnification you will look and the entire image will be in that piece. The entire image will be there because it is a hologram. A hologram. The definition of a hologram is that every fragment of the pattern reflects, mirrors, contains the entire pattern. Every fragment, no matter how small, is a reflection of the entire pattern. This is important because it's said that you and I are holographic in the universe. That within us, the entire universe lives within us. And within every cell of your body. The entire universe lives within every cell of your body. So here's an example. If this is the whole universe, right here, the entire universe, and we cut it in half. And now we take this and we cut it in half again. So now the universe is in 4 fragments. Because this is a hologram, every fragment contains the entire image. Does that make sense? Good with that? Does it make sense in the back? Yes. Okay. Because this is important. If that makes sense. Okay, if every fragment contains the entire image, no matter how small, then what happens when you make a change in one place of the pattern? What happens if we make a change in one place in the hologram? If every fragment mirrors all of the other fragments, if you make a change in one place, where do you see the change? Everywhere. Precisely. And this is how you and I may create change in this world very quickly. If we understand the language, because we are holographic. We are patterns of this world, of the universe. When we choose peace in our hearts with the language that this matrix recognizes, peace must happen. When we choose healing in our bodies, when we choose joy in our lives, when we choose compassion for our friends, when we make that choice with the language of the heart, not the mind, The heart. It must happen. Okay. So does this make sense so far? Okay, because I'm going to ask you a question, and it is a trick question. Let's go back to our experiment. What the scientists found is when they disturbed one photon here, this photon acted like it had the experience. So the question is this: how did the information from this photon get to this photon so quickly? Sometimes this photon even had the experience before this one began. And scientists say, how can that happen? The conventional wisdom is that somehow this photon, this particle of light, is transmitting information here like you would a radio wave or like you would electricity. The problem is that the information is traveling too fast. It's traveling faster than the speed of light. And that can't happen according to laws of physics. So the question is this: how did the information get from here to here? And that is a trick question. What is the answer? And you must answer before we go to lunch. It's a trick question. Okay. How did the information get from there to there? Or did it? And the answer is, the information did not have to travel. Yes. The information doesn't travel from there to there. It's already there. The information is already there because it's part of the hologram. Remember, in the hologram, what happens in one place happens everywhere. The information is already there. So that is why, when this photon has an experience, this one looks like it's having the same experience. They are still connected in the hologram. This is important for you and for me. This is why your prayers are so important. This is why you can send your prayer to a loved one in the battlefield of Iraq, or in Africa, or in America, halfway around the world, or next door, in another room. This is why you can send your prayers, and they are so powerful, because the prayer is already there. You create the prayer in your heart, and the prayer is already there. You create the feeling, just like those 3 practitioners in the medicineless hospital. They created the feeling as if the woman was already healed. In their heart, they felt the feeling of gratitude and appreciation for the healing that has already happened. That didn't have to travel anywhere. It was already there. The healing had already happened in their hearts, and the physical reality mirrored that healing. Does that make sense? Are you okay with that? It's a very powerful concept. Very powerful. What it means is that very few people can create a lot of change in this world very quickly if those people understand the language that the field recognizes. And that's why we're here today. That's why we're here today. How do you feel about that? You okay with that? Make sense? Good.